Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you the very basics of reading and writing CSV files in Python using the standard Python CSV module, and I also have created this experimental Python development environment for you guys to be able to follow this tutorial completely in browser. So if you're excited, let's actually start writing some code. In order to work with the CSV module, we need first to import it. So I need to say import CSV. And now let's try create some sort of a data list in order to work some data list that we would be actually write into CSV files. So this would be the first data type of our data would be the list of lists, and by saying this I mean that the very first row would be the very first list would be the table headers. So here we can specify the column names, saying the name, email, and phone maybe. Okay, let's also enter some ID here as well. So this is kind of it. Okay, and now let's create a couple of variables. So say John and John at gmail.com. Okay, and phone would be somewhat like this, and the ID also would be equal to 1. Now let's copy this this sort of line here. So just copy and paste it a couple of times, and now let's actually change this to, well, say Stan, and Stan here, this would be the ID of 2, ID of 3, and let's have, say, Mark. So Mark. Okay, so first let's print our data to make sure it actually has no errors. Okay, so here we get our data. By the way, if you want to print this sort of a data in a more pretty in a more pretty format, you can simply import the JSON module and simply saying JSON.dumps, and then the data itself, and also specify the indentation equals, say, to 2 spaces. So now you can see the data has been printed in a far more pretty way, consider as how this was before. Okay, but that's actually not the point. So in order to write this data to CSV file, we need simply to say with open and then specify the file name. Let's call this data.csv, and the second argument to the open function would be what actually we want to do with the file stream. So in our case we specify W here because we want to write to the file stream as, let's give a name to this file stream. Let's call it CSV file as an example here. Now we need to create a writer object that would be equal to CSV dot writer, and also we need to pass this CSV file as the first argument. So pass in the CSV file here first, and then we need to simply to say writer dot write rows, and this is it. This is kind of it basically. So let me just try to run this code. Okay, write rows takes. Oh, of course, I forgot to specify the data itself. Sorry, guys. And now let's actually try to see what we got there. So in order to do that, I need to import a little hack library that I've created for this kind of app. So from hack import all, and now we can use the most basic Linux command here as Python function calls. So let's see if our file was actually created. So we're looking for the data.csv here. Data.csv. Okay, so this file has been created. Now let's actually see what is inside that sort of a file. So here data.csv, and just run the code, and here we see that our CSV file has been written just as expected, and this is pretty nice. And now the next thing to consider, actually, well, I just comment this data out for a while because we don't really need this anymore. And yeah, and here let's now try to read from the CSV file that we've just created. So I can simply say with open data CSV, this time we want to read the file stream, and instead of a writer, now we will create a reader. Okay, so just take this stuff away. So a reader equals CSV dot reader like this, and specifying the CSV file stream itself. And now we can simply say for line or maybe for row in reader, and let's actually print row here. So and see what we got. Okay, so here we actually have our data being stored to this sort of format, just like as we did actually store it initially. And also, if you specify, say, row and the 0 element, we would have only IDs. Here we would have only names, only emails, and only phones respectively. So this is regarding the standard data definition in a type of list of lists. But let's have a look at somewhat a bit different definition here. So let me just get rid of this this data, and now let's create our data in a format of list of Python dictionaries. So let's create a couple more dictionaries here. So I say like ID, and this would be 1, and then name, this would be John. Okay, and email John at gmail.com, and phone would be 001. And now let's actually grab this sort of dictionary and paste it over here a couple more times. So we will change it accordingly to Stan Stan 002, and to Mark. Okay, 003. Okay, and let's try to print our data. So I say simply print and json.dumps data, and specify the indentation equals to 2 spaces. Okay, so here we got our data. Now in order to write this sort of a data to the CSV file, and well, basically before we proceed, let me actually delete the file that we've just created. So if I just simply say rm, assuming that we've imported hack library, of course, so rm data.csv, and I just execute this code, and let's see what we got in our file system here. So okay, so the data.csv file has been removed. Great. Now we're doing literally almost the same. So we're saying simply with open data.csv, we want to write the file stream as CSV file, and now we create the writer, but this time writer would be equals to csv.dictionary writer, specified like this, dict writer. Okay, and it would take now 2 arguments. So the first one would be the CSV file stream as usual, and the second file stream and the second argument, we need to specify the field names equals to, and let me just quickly show you what I mean by the field names and the cool tricky way how we can extract that. So if we just simply print our data at the very first index here, we'll see that we have a Python dictionary, and as far as this is a dictionary, it has a built-in keys method which would return all the keys. So here we see the ID, name, email, phone, all the keys we have. So this is the list, this is the particular format for the list that needs to be provided as the second argument to the dictWriter method here. So this sort of data. So we can simply say here like this. So just paste. I just grab this away, copying and pasting it over here. So now we've created a dictionary writer and specified the field names. And in case of dictionary writer, if you want to write your field names to the CSV file, you have to explicitly tell Python about this. So you need to say simply writer dot write header like this. So this would write a header already. So let me basically quickly demonstrate you that so you will see. Now let's see what is there in data.csv file. So it should return only the field names basically, and as expected we have those. Okay, so now we can do a very simple thing. So we need simply to loop over the elements in the data list. So we can simply say for row in data, and here we can simply say writer dot write row and specify our row as the parameter. And remember that every row is the type of Python dictionary, so every row is this like element over here. So if I just run this code one more time, okay, sorry, there's something wrong with the indentations here, so it's probably okay. So now it works. Okay, and now let's actually try to see what we got in our CSV file. So simply say cat csv data dot csv. Okay, here you can see that we have all our data just exactly the same way as we did before. And now let's try to read the data from CSV file using the dictionary reader instead of the casual reader. So in order to do that, let's actually do the following stuff here. So we don't need this data anymore. So we can simply say with open data.csv. Now we want to read the file stream as CSV file here, and now we create the reader equals to csv.dictReader, so dictionary reader here, and it takes the only argument the CSV file. Well, you can provide some more arguments specifying the delimiters for the CSV file and so on, but by default it's just fairly enough to use the only CSV file stream, and that's kind of it. And now let's first actually try to print our reader. It would probably give somewhat an object here. Okay, so this is the CSV dictReader object, but we obviously can iterate over this, so we can simply say for row in reader, and let's print the row here and execute. So here we have the type of order dictionary with this sort of stuff, but I don't really like this sort of format, so we can simply convert our row to a normal Python dictionary like this. So this is kind of an ordered one apparently. So, and now we can also reference this row using the index key. So say if we want to say to see the row.id. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, yeah. So let's actually, yeah. So we can't really do it that way. So let's actually create our data element here, which would be the equal, which would be the type of Python list. And now we simply say data.append this dictionary row here. So just run this code one more time. Okay, and from now on let's actually try to iterate over the data elements itself. So say simply for row in data and print row one more time. Okay, and now we should have be able to reference by the keys. Okay, so here we got our ID, and here is the name, here is the email, and finally here is the phone. Okay guys, so this is it for this video. I hope you've learned something interesting by following it. So until next time, and take care.